Debbie Harry seems almost like a mythical creature in a way. Adopted as a baby called Angela Trimble, she never knew who her parents were or anything about her heritage, other than a vague story that her mother had been a concert pianist. But she was adopted by Catherine and Richard Harry, a middle-class couple from Hawthorne, New Jersey, where she would spend her childhood. This is the story of Deborah Harry. Debbie was a good girl. She did what she was supposed to do. She graduated high school, she went to community college, and graduated in 1965 at 20 years old. At this point, she moved to New York City and got her first job there as a secretary for BBC Radio. And she got a small apartment in the East Village for about $50 a month. She later worked a bunch of different jobs, including a waitress at Max's Kansas City, where she first became acquainted with the New York underground scene. She started out singing in a folk band called The Wind in the Willows, and later a girl group called the Stilettos. Eventually, they added a guitar player, Chris Stein, to the band, and he and Debbie hit it off immediately. They started dating, decided to break from the Stilettos and start their own group. First, they called themselves Angel and Snake, and they scored some pretty decent gigs, including opening for a new wild band taking New York by storm called the Ramones. If you're interested in learning more about their rise to punk rock dominance, go check out the video we just posted on my YouTube. Anyways, they added a couple more members to the group and they changed their name to Blondie, based off the cat call that Debbie was used to getting all over the city. She was beautiful. Everybody told her that she looked like Marilyn Monroe, but it also made her a target. She had stalkers, like the one she famously wrote One Way or Another about. And later in the 70s, she was attacked and sexually assaulted at knife point in her own apartment. But these negative experiences, although traumatic, did not stop her. She got into the disco scene, hung out at Studio 54, and became friends with artists like Jean-Michel Basquiat and Fab Five Freddy, who she would later collaborate with on the Blondie song Rapture, which was said to be the first video on MTV to feature a black hip-hop artist. In 1980, Blondie was massive, and Andy Warhol spotted her, immortalizing her in what would become one of his most famous collections of portraits. It was right around this time that Chris Stein would be diagnosed with a rare autoimmune disease, pemphigus vulgaris, which took him right out of the game for almost an entire decade. And Debbie, while trying to get her solo career going, became his full-time carer. This sort of caused the end of the band. There was nothing they could really do about it for a while. Once Chris's health began to improve, Blondie would reform and start performing together again, as recently as 2024, which unfortunately seems like was probably their final performance, given the passing of drummer and iconic member of the band, Clem Burke, in June 25. Debbie Harry has one long and impressive list of friends and collaborators through the years, and she's remained one of the most authentic and admired women in the music industry as a result of not just her longevity, but her loyalty, her toughness, and her stunning versatility as a performer and an artist.